as Woj just detailed, the Celtics, they pretty much had this all wrapped up. 10 seconds left, down 3. They didn't have the ball. No team in more than 250 of those instances before had won the game. But there's a first time for everything, right, Chris? And so you pointed out the devil was truly in the details on this one.
Definitely in the details. Every team at the end of the game has their principles.
Yep.
Right? So when you look at the tape, some teams switch, some teams don't switch. Everyone wanted to talk about should they switch or not switch, where should Tyrese Haliburton be. But the first thing that I paid attention to was Jrue Holiday.
Okay.
And where he was standing at. He wasn't up on the line to take the ball out. Right? He's a smart player. He backed up off of the line. That way he could have more than one option. Right? So if you watch this action when the tape rolls, there's a lot of action going on, and there's a guy, Jason Tatum comes to the corner. He's back here so that is an option. That corner is an option. If you see, because he's off the line, angle, knock down 3. Now, everyone wants to say, should you foul, not foul, up 3, down. I'm a foul guy, always. But you should hear everybody talking about that play. You can't foul in that situation.
Right.
Because his body, he has the ball and he's facing the goal.
Right.
So Siakam did what he had to do. Tough shot, game in overtime.
Not giving up the 4-point play to Jaylen Brown in the corner, right? And we talk so much about the Jays in Boston, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. But there's a new Jay in town, Jrue Holiday.
Listen, he ain't new. He ain't new. Jrue Holiday is there. And as you can see, he's just constantly in the right place at the right time. In this play right here, you see him playing defense. Everybody in the league knows about his defense, but what he's doing is he's sitting on his right hand, Tyrese Haliburton's right hand. Every time he dribbles, he wants to keep him left. He's close enough to where if Tyrese drops and cross right, he's going to get there. Just enough pressure to force him into a turnover. Everybody knows that Jrue's capable of that, and that's why he's so tough. Look at here now, Jason Tatum hitting the biggest shot of the game. People want to talk, should JT do this, JT do that? He had 34 and 12. You want your superstars to take that same shot in overtime that you would take in the first quarter, and JT does that, and that's why he's the starter that he is.
I mean, just look at that. When it mattered the most, 10 points in overtime in Game 1 against the Indiana Pacers. But game after game, you know, we saw who Jrue was shutting down his assignment down the stretch. It was Tyrese Haliburton, because he continues to rise. And Bob Myers... We'll talk a little bit about, you know, you always knew that the talent was going to be there for Tyrese Haliburton. When did you recognize that he could become an all-star caliber player?
Not in time, obviously. Not in time. Could have picked him. We didn't. I'll tell you what, the draft is hard to get right. But a lot of people in our building liked him a lot, and naturally so.
Did they like the jump shot at the time?
The jump shot's a little different. I mean, the jump shot's different, but we watched him work out in Vegas. You're watching him shoot right now. I don't know if we'll get a shot of it, but it's not a normal-looking shot. That's a set shot. But his interview was what stuck with me. We sat down with him, Steve Kerr and I, and Joe Lacob, the owner of the team. And you don't remember, there's so many people you interview in this business that you might draft and you talk to. I can go back and tell you where we sat outside of a gym in Las Vegas. The court, we sat outside. We pulled some chairs. We sat outside the gym. I could go tell you guys where we sat. That's how much I remember it. But again, you got to pull the trigger. We didn't. The guy slipped to 12. But I think what makes him special is clearly his game, right? You got to have talent, but his brain and his mind and his authenticity. And I think that's why the interview and the conversation stuck with me. He has a confidence about him that is deep. Reminds me of a guy like Steph Curry, where you see in some of those highlights, it's unwavering. He never thinks he's losing the game. And again, the thing I would say lastly about him is people want to follow Tyrese Haliburton. He makes you want to follow him, and that's a special trait.
There's so many, you see all these kids because of AAU basketball and your coaching and your involvement. You thought what of Haliburton when you first saw him?
Man, he was in Sacramento. He was in Sacramento when he first came into the league, but the pace that he played with, but everybody always talk about, I could have drafted, I could have done this, but it works out in the end, right? Even the trade, I'm sure he was pissed when he got traded, right?
He said as much.
Yeah, but when you get traded, sometimes it just gives you an edge, it gives you a chip on your shoulder, and it gives you an opportunity to run your team, right? He would have been there with De'Aaron Fox, and we already know how great of a player De'Aaron Fox is. Here, he gets a chance to lead his team, play the game his way, and that's why.
But there's a line in Woj's essay, which was great, by the way, that was so poignant, where no one's going to remember the points that Haliburton put up in Game 1. History's not going to remember the rebounds that he grabbed. It's the collapse down the stretch. So what do the Pacers need from him in this series?
Well, they need him to be ultra-aggressive. They need him to make sure he takes advantage, if at all possible, against somebody like a Jrue Holiday, because we know what kind of effect Jrue Holiday can have on the opposition's game. Him and Derek White, to be quite honest with you, they're the elite defensive backcourt. But But if you're Haliburton, they're going to need you to step up in order to win the series. But I also want to say I need to remove myself from the category of those that didn't know all of this other stuff. There's 2 moments in recent memory, and Wilbon's laughing already at me. Both times, the New York Knicks had the number 8 overall pick. In 2017, I'm screaming at them, CP3. I'll never forgive Phil Jackson for this. I'll never forgive him for this. Donovan Mitchell is there, and he drafts Frank Ntilikina. I think Phil Jackson should be barred from New York forever because of that. And then 2020, I'm screaming at the New York Knicks. Draft Haliburton. I know Obi Toppin can play. I know that. But you have Julius Randle. You're not going to play him. Draft Tyrese Haliburton. And they didn't do it. And so when I see that, these are the kind of, now I'm happy to have Jaylen Brown. Please don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
I'm very, very happy about that.
Exactly.
But we didn't know that, damn it. He just got there.
And so for years, so for years, we're suffering because I'm watching that guy play and elevate his level of play. And I'm like, he's supposed to be.
But the league is so much about opportunity. Right? It's all about situations and opportunity. There are guys in this league who are a lot better than what you see on given nights. And I would say Tyrese got an opportunity to be in a better situation that fits his game with guys that just, like, it's a track meet. It's a track meet.
Well, what's Sacramento? Because De'Aaron Fox is the guy.
Wait, I want to look at the other side for a second, real quickly. There are a lot of great players in this league who have had playoff gaffes. How many times have we sat back in that war room and Magic Johnson would take us through moments that he wished he had back?
Had that turnover.
Right? And so Haliburton's going to have plenty of opportunities to erase that.
When you talk about the draft, like Chris, if I ask Chris, what were the plays in your career that you look back and say, if I'd have made that pass or didn't, as a GM,
I know him.
You think of, I know when you miss guys, it hurts. You wake up middle of the night. So it changes the trajectory of your franchise when you get things right or wrong.
Well,
so,
now it's
but happy for Haliburton, he's in a good spot.
I'm on fire. It's 88 over here.